Last week here on the podcast, I interviewed Carly Snider of the Pact Collective, and she said something in that interview that truly shocked me. And you know what? I haven't stopped thinking about it since. She told me that in many beauty brands, sustainability sits under the marketing department. Not operations, not product development, not supply chain, no, marketing. And when I heard that, something inside me dropped. Because if sustainability is reporting to marketing, then it's not really about impact. It's about image. And if that doesn't tell you everything you need to know about the state of sustainability in beauty, then honestly, I don't know what will. I've been in this industry for long enough to know that marketing can do a lot of good. It connects brands with their communities. It gives meaning to messaging. It helps customers understand complex ideas like formulation, sourcing, carbon footprints. But when sustainability is part of marketing, then it isn't about impact anymore. It's just about optics. It's about packaging the idea of responsibility rather than embedding it in the business itself. And that's what I want to talk about here on the podcast today. Hi, it's Lorraine Dallmeier, Chartered Environmentalist, Biologist, and CEO of the award-winning online organic cosmetic formulation school, Botanica. I host the Green Beauty Conversations podcast, and these are my Green Beauty opinions, where I share my takeaways from last week's episode and challenge you to think differently about the beauty industry. If you love hearing my thoughts on green beauty, make sure you subscribe to this podcast so you never miss an episode. So let's be clear, marketing isn't the problem. Marketing is essential, and I personally love marketing. In fact, I'll let you in on a little secret here. I do more marketing than I do formulating at Formula Botanica. So marketing tells stories. It connects us with people. It builds communities. It grows businesses. Even this podcast is marketing. But when sustainability reports into marketing, we start prioritizing optics over action. And then it becomes about storytelling instead of systems, about messaging instead of manufacturing. And I've seen this firsthand. I've spent over a decade watching beauty brands and ingredient suppliers craft beautiful narratives around sustainability, while their actual packaging, procurement, and product decisions told a very different story. Because sustainability, if it's going to be meaningful, has to sit at the heart of the business. It has to be tied to R&D and operations, supply chain, and in leadership, most importantly. It has to be cross-functional, not performative. Otherwise, it's just another campaign that gets treated as a content pillar. And then it lives in the slide deck, not in procurement systems or packaging briefs. And ultimately, it then becomes just another way to convince people to buy more, but feel better about it at the same time. So why does this happen? Well, it is understandable because in many beauty brands, sustainability is still seen as part of brand positioning. And it's wrapped up in messaging, consumer perception, and competitive edge, all of which traditionally sit with the marketing team. And if a company doesn't have a dedicated sustainability lead or an ESG manager or even a technical expert to own the function, then the responsibility often defaults to the people who are best at communicating. So there we go, marketing. It also happens because sustainability in beauty tends to start with storytelling, not necessarily with systems. So brands often begin by crafting a beautiful narrative, claims about packaging, ingredients, impact, and they do that long before they've necessarily built the internal infrastructure to measure or manage any of it. It's then treated as a message, not a methodology. And in many businesses, it's seen as a nice to have still rather than a structural priority. So instead of being embedded in ops or supply chain, sustainability is sometimes even treated like a seasonal campaign, something maybe to push out around Earth Day or tie to a new launch rather than something that defines how the company runs. But here's the difference. And I have seen this time and time again, and it gives me lots of hope. Because when the founder of any kind of beauty brand is truly committed to sustainability, it shows. It then becomes embedded in that brand. It touches everything. So take me as an example. I've been a chartered environmentalist since 2009. I got my master's degree in environmental management back in 2003. And that qualification didn't just give me credentials, it gave me a lens. It's a way for me of seeing the world and understanding that sustainability isn't a department or a role. It's a framework for every decision you make. And that's why here at Formula Botanica, we don't need to hire a sustainability officer to tell a story. I've built the school itself around the principles of environmental responsibility and systems thinking. And that's what separates brands who treat sustainability as a marketing angle from those who treat it as an obligation to do better. The former looks good, the latter does good. And that difference matters more than ever. So sustainability must influence product development. It must shape packaging choices and supply chains. It must challenge purchasing behaviors, and it must guide logistics. It must show up in recruitment, in leadership, in training, in target setting. If it stays in marketing, it will always be limited by what's easy to sell. Now, I don't say all of this to point fingers. I say this because I care deeply about the future of this industry. I say this because I've mentored beauty entrepreneurs who genuinely want to do better, but just aren't sure where to start. I also say this because the students at Formula Botanica are building the next generation of brands, and they deserve to understand the difference between a good campaign and a good company. It's no longer enough for sustainability to sound good. It has to be good, even when no one is looking. I love that expression. So this week, I challenge you to look closely at the brands that you work for or support or buy from. Is sustainability guiding real decisions behind the scenes, or is it just part of the message? And if it's only showing up in the messaging, what's one conversation that you could start, one question that you could ask to push things forward? Because here's the hopeful part. This can change. Sustainability doesn't have to stay stuck in comms for some beauty brands. It can lead strategy, shape products, influence packaging, and drive real systems change. And the more we treat it as a shared responsibility, not a story, the more chance we have of making beauty better for all of us. Thank you for listening to my Green Beauty Opinions. Remember to visit the Formula Botanica website at formulabotanica.com to try our free online formulation course. And if you haven't subscribed yet to the Green Beauty Conversations podcast, please do so now in your favorite podcast app. Leave me a 5-star review if you enjoy these discussions, and I'll be back soon with my next episode.